establish that we do have a quorum with Mayor Pro Tem David Torres and Councilman Enriquez present. It is 12:02 on Tuesday, March 26th. Mr. Trevino, was the meeting posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act?
Yes, Mr. President, it was posted at the 22nd day of March 2019 at 5 p.m.
Thank you, sir. We'll move right into it. Number 3, consider approval of Board of Directors minutes for the February 18th and February 25th board meetings. And entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
on this item, if we can remove the February 25th, 2019 board meeting minutes from this item. I have some questions that I asked Nelda to verify on one of the agenda items that I voted against or for. So if it's okay, if we can remove that meeting date and just approve, I'll make the motion to approve February 18th, 2019 board minutes.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second for approving just the minutes from the February 18th meeting, and we'll come back to the 25th at a later time. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Number 4, consideration and approval of a resolution approving the corporation's plan of finance pertaining to the contemplated issuance of obligations to be designated as Edinburgh's Economic Development Corporation Sales Tax Revenue Bonds Series 2019, authorizing the corporation staff and the corporation's financial advisor and bond counsel to proceed with this plan of finance. Mr. Trevino?
Yes, Mr. Arnold Cantu with Norton Rose, the Fulbright bond attorneys for the EDC, has prepared the attached resolution relating to the plan of finance for the bonds to be issued by the EDC for El Tule Recreation Center, the Resource and Workforce Training Center, and North Park Public Projects. This resolution would allow us to proceed with the new bond issuance. And Mr. Chris Vela is here also to answer any questions that the board may have.
Mr. Vela? Thanks for being here, gentlemen.
You have before you a presentation that was prepared. As you well know, we had a preliminary presentation that was prepared previously and discussed with this board, and now we'll go over the final plan of finance. I direct you to page 3. The capital improvement projects for 2018-19. The Edinburg Economic Development Corporation, the EEDC, intends to finance the following projects, through the issuance of sales tax revenue bonds in 2019 as reported by EDC staff. El Tule Recreation Center, EDC will construct a 24,211 square foot public recreation center on city-owned property located at 702 18th Street, Edinburg. At completion, the city will retain ownership of the building and property. The building will include 3 basketball courts, 608 seats, concession area, and restrooms. There will be 5,333 square foot outdoor pavilion and 126 parking spaces. Total project cost is expected at $5,818,210. The next project is the North Park project. EDC will construct the North Park project at property located at Rogers Road and I-69 in Edinburg. At completion, the EDC will transfer ownership of the park to the city. The public park will include 2 softball fields, sports lighting, basketball pad, restrooms, concession building, walking trail, playscape, and parking lot. Total project cost is expected at $1,739,715. Edinburg Resource Center. The Edinburg Economic Development Corporation will construct a 10,000 square foot public resource center on city-owned property located at South 14th Street and Cano, Edinburg, formerly known as the Old City Library. At completion, the city will retain ownership of the building and property. The building will include classroom space, offices, resource area, and parking. Total project cost is expected at $2,220,000. Flipping on to page 5, the plan of finances is as follows. Issuance of sales tax revenue bonds. The new Series 219, the new Series 19 bonds to finance projects totaling $9,780,000. The new Series 19 bonds will be issued under a new lien subordinate to the senior lien bonds, the Series 213A, the Series 213B, and the Series 215 bonds, and the project funding agreement for the Edinburg Local Government Finance Corporation Entertainment Center project bonds, the Entertainment Center project funding agreement. The lien on parity with the project funding agreement on the Edinburg Local Government Finance Corporation will be closed after the issuance of the new Series 19 bonds. The senior lien was closed in March of 2015 as well. The new Series 19 bonds will be senior to all obligations of the EDC except the currently outstanding senior lien bonds and the Entertainment Center project funding agreement grants and incentive agreements that the EDC has granted or may grant to the developer businesses will be junior to the new series lien except for La Siena Development Agreement since it predates the tiered lien structure set up in 2015. The new Series 19 bonds will be secured by a gross pledge of the EDC gross sales tax receipts subordinate to the senior lien bonds and the Entertainment Center project funding grant agreement, hence the new Series 19 bonds. No City of Edinburg funds will secure the new Series 19 bonds. The new Series 19 bonds will be solely secured by the EDC sales tax revenues. The new Series 19 bonds will have a fully funded debt service reserve fund funded from new Series 19 proceeds. That's a very important covenant there. There will not require any funds from the EDC revenues to be deposited to the debt service fund. And the debt service fund will be funded as required under the three-pronged IRS test, which translates to 1-year payment as additional security for the bondholder. The debt service will be equivalent to the maximum annual debt service payment on the new Series 19 bonds. The debt service reserve fund may require adjustments if additional new series bonds are issued in the future. The new Series 19 bond resolution will allow the EDC to issue additional new series bonds on parity with the new Series 19 bonds as long as bonded debt coverage, including the senior lien bonds, 100% of the Edinburg Local Government Finance Corporation Entertainment Center project bonds, and all outstanding and proposed new series bonds, maximum annual debt service coverage is at least 1.15 times against the last 12 months of gross sales tax revenues. The new Series 19 bonds will be issued as a limited offering as non-rated bonds to qualified institutional buyers as defined by Securities Exchange Commission Rule 14.4a and accredited investors as defined by Securities Exchange Commission Rule 501 of Regulation D, only in minimum denominations of $100,000. The new Series 19 bonds are to be issued as tax-exempt obligations. Page 7. The new series bonds will be amortized as level debt service for 25 years, semi-annual payments February 15th and August 15th, February 15th, interest-only payments, August 15th, principal and interest payments, first interest payment on February 15th of 220, first principal payment on August 15th of 220, final maturity, last principal and interest payment on August 15th of 44. The goal is to maintain all bonded debt coverage ratio at no less than 1.10 assuming EDC is responsible for 100% of debt service under the Entertainment Center Project Funding Agreement, or as we have often referred to, the legal agreement. Expected issuance bond sale in April 16th of 19 and closing on May the 9th of 2019. The closing means the delivery of the proceeds. Municipal market update. Much like the update that I gave you last week, interest rates on municipals continue to go down, and inflows into bond funds continue to be positive as well. So you see there that the current 439 is a rate that has gone down on the bond buyer revenue bond index. Moving on to page 11, the par amount of the transaction or of the bonds to be proposed to be issued, $11,135,000. Total sources of funds, $11,135,000. Project fund deposit to accomplish all of the project constructions as delineated to us by staff, $9,780,000. Debt service reserve fund, what I spoke about earlier, will be funded from these proceeds at $793,000 and budgeted financing costs of $561,250. Total sources of funds, $11,135,000. Page 12 is just a summary of sales tax receipts for the city and the EDC as well. As you can see, there's some increases there from one year to the other. Preliminary statistics. On page 13, the last 12 months of EDC sales tax revenues is $5,828,773 unaudited. Existing all-in debt ratio, inclusive of senior lien and entertainment project funding agreement, equals 141 unaudited. Projected surplus annual cash flow after the net EDC debt payment, no new Series 19 bonds, $3,067,000. Projected all-in debt coverage after issuance of new series equals 1.8, subject to change at any time. Projected surplus annual cash flow after net Edinburg EDC debt payments, inclusive of new Series 19, $2,276,000, subject to change at any time. Projected interest cost bond yield of new series equals a 4.89, subject to change at any time. Projected annual debt service of new series, $781,000, subject to change. Now, the next page, page 14, is what we have referred to in some of the previous discussion as the legal. We start out with column B, which are the existing sales tax revenues for the last 12 months. That coincides with the previous page. Outstanding EDC senior lien bonds, debt, and the coverage associated with that senior lien pledge. As you can see, that's in the 3+ column. Then you have the net amount available after the payment of that debt, which pays for the arena bonds or the entertainment center bonds, and the coverage associated with that. And then you have the net available revenues for the new series of bonds. Then you have the debt service for the new series of bonds and the coverage on that as well. And as you can see, for 19, you see that 141 that was quoted. And you can see the coverage year after that, assuming the revenues do not grow or decrease for that matter. Now, the next page, 15, takes into consideration the real side of the Edinburg transaction as it refers to EDC debt. You take, once again, the sales tax revenues on column B, the senior lien bonds that is closed and must be paid first. Column E is what's available after deducting that payment. And then the outstanding entertainment center bonds. And then we add the increments from revenues from tiers 1. We also add the 95% of increment 4, the grant from the city on column I, and the rent that will be collected starting next year from the entertainment center, So the net series LGC amount that is due is 1,436,419, and then it goes down to 1,232,000. Additional 5% that needs to be pledged based on the payment schedule and the agreement that was agreed to when these bonds were issued. That amount is added on. So the total projected subordinate lien debt service is column N, and then the proposed new debt service, and then column D reflects what the EDC will have left over after all of that is done. On page 17, the issuer is the Edinburg Economic Development Corporation, financial advisor, Hilltop Securities, bond counsel, Norton Rose Fulbright, paying agent, the Bank of New York Mellon Trust, underwriter, Stifel Nicholas and Company, and underwriters counsel, Winstead of San Antonio. On page 19, schedule of events, presentation of preliminary plan of finance for discussion purposes. That was completed on January of 19. Consideration of reimbursement resolution for the project. That was on February of 19. On March of 26th, presentation, consideration, and approval of final plan of finance, and then resolution considering Edinburg Economic Development Obligation Compliance Policies and Procedures. April the 4th, City Council considers and authorizes the EDC's final plan of finance and other matters as necessary prior to the issuance of the new series. As you know, these issuance has to be approved by the Economic Development Corporation Board as well as the City Council of the City of Edinburg. On April the 16th, the Edinburg Economic Development Council Board special meeting, issuance of the new Series 19 bonds. That is when the bonds will be sold. City Council meeting directly after that, resolution authorizing the EDC issuance of the new Series 19 bonds, and the proposed closing of bond debt issuance and delivery of the funds on May the 9th of 19. And then the last page is questions, discussions, and next steps.
For the record, May 9th is my birthday and has nothing to do with this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Vela. Gentlemen, questions?
I have a question. If this resolution is approved today, based on the three projects that we have listed here on page 3, can these projects change? Can the scope of work change if necessary?
Can they change prior to the issuance or after the issuance?
After the issuance.
I'll direct that question to bond counsel. Go ahead, Arnold.
Mr. Enriquez, for the record, Arnold Cantu, Norton Rose Fulbright, bond counsel to the EDC.
Can you pick up the mic, Mr. Cantu, please?
Sure. The purposes that are in our resolution authorizing the bonds and the purposes that are reflected in that plan of finance resolution include specifically the Workforce Training Center, and then generally parks and park recreational facilities within the EDC. And so up until the time that we sell on April 16th, we can work with that. The park projects purposes was left generally, intentionally general, in case the Capable Kids Park came in or some other project with respect to parks and recreational facilities was included. So that's where we are now. At this preliminary stage, we can still work with your team and the financial advisor to change that if needed.
Okay, appreciate it.
So, Mr. Cantu, this El Tule Recreation Center, which is our gyms at the 5.8 million, I know we're not gonna approve anything that's close to that amount. We're gonna work to get it down. I know Joey's working with some people. The money that's gonna be left over can be used for other parks. That's what you're saying, right? That you're gonna leave it open like that in case other park projects come up, that money has to be used towards further parks, correct?
As the purposes are drafted now, that's the case. So
Okay.
that's what we have in our language right now. And if if we were going to move to some other project not related to parks or to El Tule, or essentially any other project other than the ones that we've been discussing with the EDC staff, we'd need to know that because issues come up with respect to how we're using bond proceeds. We need to make sure that it's an authorized use under the EDC's statute, enabling statute, and what the voters have approved when they approved the sales tax in 1990. So,
Okay, so just to put it out there one more time on the record, this money will be used for the resource center and parks, and that's it. No other projects can come from this bond money, correct?
as it's drafted now, that's correct.
Okay.
So Atula is not gonna be a part of this?
No, well, that's the parks, right?
It's considered
Yes,
a park
yes.
recreation.
Yeah.
I guess I'm missing, I know that to my left and my right, they're asking similar questions of what I'm asking. But let's say that there's $1 million surplus from the gymnasiums on the Tulip project. We also have another project pending with Ebony. If there's an excess amount of money, $1 million surplus, or the capable kids, can that $1 million be used at a different park?
Yes.
Or- okay. Okay, it can be used at Ebony, or it can be used for the capable kids.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead and entertain a motion on that, gentlemen.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Move on to number 5. Consider and approve resolution establishing a debt covenant and contractual obligation compliance policy, authorizing corporation officials to provide a note default certification, authorizing other matters incident and related thereto, providing an effective date. Joey?
Mr. President, Mr. Cantu is here, and Mr. Vela again also on this item. They have prepared the attached resolution relating to the compliance policy recommended that includes the requirements to comply with all debt commitments, both current and future. This resolution will allow for a no default certification that will confirm that the EDC is in compliance with all debt commitments. Arnold?
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Again, for the record, Arnold Cantu, bond counsel for the EDC with Norton Rose Fulbright. This resolution will approve a formal policy regarding the EDC's compliance with covenants that they've made with respect to the prior lien bonds, the first lien, the Santana Ebony bonds, and the LGC bonds, what we call the arena bonds. So this was at the request of the underwriter to these current new series bonds, this proposed series of bonds. What they were looking for was something something formal that reflected the policies that were already in place at the EDC. We've created guidelines which are in line with what the EDC is currently doing to ensure that payments are made on time, that transfers to funds are made on time, that use of bond proceeds is used in a way that will ensure tax-exempt status, which is very important for our yield rates, and also to ensure that our requirements under SEC laws regarding post-issuance compliance, what we call post-issuance compliance, relating to providing information and data that's important to investors for as long as the bonds are outstanding. So what you'll see in the policy that's included in your packet is our attempt at a more formal procedure by which the EDC can have that for posterity and comply with the promises that have already been made in bond documents for the EDC's prior bonds.
Members of the board, it's just a policy that will, whoever, if I'm not here in the future or whoever the new director is, has to comply with all these payments that are in place for these bonds. So it's just part of our policy.
And if I can add to that, and not to get too into the weeds, there have been amendments to federal securities laws recently, effective February 27th, that have added new requirements to the EDC and the city. And so my firm and Hilltop Securities have had conferences with city staff and EDC staff relating to these requirements. And in this kind of new environment where these amendments are coming in, underwriters who are essentially liable for acts of the city, they want to make sure that there's policies in place. And in fact, as we've seen in this case with these bonds, as we've seen with the city's GO bonds, and as we'll probably see with future issuances, underwriters want to see a policy for compliance with 15C212, which is included in this policy that we propose to approve today.
Thank you, Mr. Cantu.
Thank you.
Go ahead and entertain a motion on number 5.
To approve the resolution?
I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Number 6, discuss and consider authorizing the executive director to enter into an agreement with Twins Jewelry for participation in the Small Business Renovation and Improvement Grant Program. Mr. Balderas.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Yes, sir, we do have there, we went and took a look at the Twins Jewelry. It's located here by the Shipley Donuts, and they have submitted everything. Out of all the applications that were submitted, they did meet the qualifications. While the number they requested is above the 10,000, they're well aware that it will only cover, if approved, up to $10,000.
All right.
Second.
Do have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, sir. Number 7, discuss and consider authorizing the executive director to enter into an agreement with La Paloma Mexican Restaurant for the participation in the Small Business Renovation and Improvement Grant Program. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. As well as on this one, the biggest concern at that La Paloma restaurant is their roof, and they do meet the qualifications in accordance to the EDC guidelines for the 5 and 10 grant, and they're well aware as well that the most that can be paid up, if approved, is up to the $10,000.
Thank
Just
you.
really quick, which one is this one, Mike?
This one is La Paloma 1, the original one, not the one on North Edinburg, but the one in town.
Second.
Do have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Number 8, Executive Director, Mr. Trevino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to brief you on some of the things that have been going on as far as sales tax, unemployment rate, and residential commercial building permits and our schedule for the next couple of months. Sales tax grew again at a rate this month at 3.24. We went from last year at this time it was 1,719,722. This year in March is 1,775,566. From fiscal years 2018, we're at 10,757,322. And we're on board 2018 to this point, 12,014,737, a difference in the last 6 months of 1,257,414. So we're doing well in the sales tax that are being reported. Our unemployment rate, January we registered tied with McAllen at 5.2. February numbers at 4.9, so we've gone down, and it's about the same as last year also on our unemployment rate. Our residential commercial building permits, January 2019, we had 10,698,000. February of this year, we had 35,491,000. So we're at a total amount on 46,189,012.
And that's for what?
Residential and commercial building permits.
Residential.
Yes, sir. Compared to this year we're at 46,189,000. Last year at this time we were at 45,996,000. So continued growth. I just wanted to update you on a schedule. I'm leaving tomorrow to Houston to a conference at the Opportunity Zones. It's a half-day seminar. Our northern industrial park is part of an opportunity zone, so there's some opportunities for us to sell this property and also offer these incentives. It's through the U.S. government, and I'll report back to you on that. On Friday, we have the Governor's Small Business Conference, South Texas, at the Conference Center, DHR. It's 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have Secretary of State will be there. Also, Julian Alvarez with the Workforce Commission will be there. So invite you gentlemen to attend also. We got an email yesterday. I know you guys like to fly, and you like to fly and not wait in line on anything. So TSA is having a pre-check enrollment event. So you can go faster into the, so this is happening April 16th through April 18th. So we have all that information for you guys if you want to get into the pre-check. You won't have to stay in line. Of course, we're planning the ICSC Las Vegas trip May 18th through the 22nd. So we've already, I've been working with the Canvas Group. They're setting up the meetings with the different developers and commercial businesses that they've been talking to. We have in June 18th through the 21st, we have 2019 RGV to DC trip again. We did that last year. It's, again, June 18th through the 21st. We've already started the plan. I've talked to Miriam and Juan Guerra about starting different meetings with different, our contingent representatives and senators. So we'll have a plan for that event also. Other than that, that's all I have to report for this month.
Mr. Trevino, can you send those dates?
Yes,
through
sir.
Email?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino, and have a safe trip to Houston, and go get that property sold for us.
Yes, sir.
Can we, number 9, EDC going into executive, can I entertain a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. We are going to go into executive session. The time is 12:34.
Attorney, 551.072, deliberations regarding real property. 551.074, 551.087, deliberations regarding economic development negotiations.
Motion to come out of executive.
Second.
Motion and a second to come out of executive. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. We're coming out of executive session. The time is 1:16 p.m. Just for the record, at 12:09, after the meeting had started and Mr. Vela was giving his presentation, Mayor Molina and Board Member Farias joined us at 12:09. And during executive session, Mayor Pro Tem David Torres had to leave. He left at 12:55, and Mayor Molina left at 1:05, just for the record. Okay, on our executive items,
Mr. President, on item, we need a motion for the board to direct the executive director to proceed as directed in executive session on items 9B, 9C, and 9D.
I entertain a motion.
B, C, and D, Mr. Vela?
Yes, Mr. Enriquez.
I make a motion.
You have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Are there any other agenda items?
No, sir.
I'd like to entertain a motion to dismiss.
Motion, please.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. This meeting is adjourned at 1:17.